Hello, I'm Zach, posting for the best game site ever, and welcome to our video review of the Battlefield 3 campaign. The first thing you notice about this game is how beautiful it is, and how they do a great job of setting up their missions with some really epic in-game cutscenes. Throw in a little music, and you can really get the adrenaline pumping here. Several times I found myself just standing back, admiring the scenery, and watching the chaos unfold around me. But these fantastic cutscenes into missions quickly wear off, as the gameplay is often rather lacking. You see this jet sequence, this dogfight, I'm not flying, I'm just gunning, and all I do is wait for the higher pitch tone to fire the missile, wait for the lower pitch tone to fire the flares. It's not very interesting, I'm sorry to say. So they did manage to pull off a decent dogfight sequence. I guess you can't blame them too much for that. But then later on in the mission, the bombing run is honestly pretty bad, because you just hold the crosshairs over the target and wait. I don't know what to say about this. This mission went from a really epic start to a really terrible middle and end. As much as I enjoy calling in airstrikes on defenseless targets far below my position, it really doesn't make for very good gameplay. Let's go ahead and look at some of the first-person shooter missions. The infantry gameplay is not at all distinctive to the Battlefield series. You have your gun, your explosives, your rockets, and your quick-time events. Really nothing surprising there. Unfortunately, they're often not very clear about what they want you to do, and you have to figure it out through trial and error. In this game, error means dying, so reload and try again. And be thankful they're pretty generous with the checkpoints. I just kind of laughed it off when I did that to myself, but I was surprised to see that most other people I watched play this made that same mistake. And that wasn't especially a dumb mistake. Again, it's just because they didn't explain what they wanted you to do. Now, when you do figure it out, oh man, some really great stuff can happen. Goodbye, Mr. Sniper. You might expect me to say something about the story at this point, but there really isn't a whole lot to say. Middle East? Nukes. Something about some guy hellbent on world destruction. I don't know, I really didn't follow, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I just play the game. This mission is one of the more distinctive visually, not because it happens in a city, or because of the range, but because it happens during the day, outside. So let's take a look at a different infantry mission. Have you ever wanted to breach a vault through an elevator SWAT style? Well, now you can. It is a pretty stark contrast to some of those larger outdoor battles. And I'm sure that the lighting effects are technically very impressive, they just don't make for very impressive or memorable environments. What it does do is make you very thankful that they do give you an infrared scope in the missions where it really comes in handy. It's interesting, but not necessary when most of the enemies have flashlights on the end of their guns. One of the flatly bad things about this game is the lazy game design. There are parts that are disguised as gameplay that are really just cutscenes. This, for example, is a 2-minute tank drive into the city where you're supposed to kill a lot of people with the mounted gun on top of the tank, and it requires no player interaction whatsoever. Like other similar games, the game is extremely linear and very scripted. All a player has to do is hit the next checkpoint and the game keeps going forward. Even though I'm not playing on the PC, I still take my first-person shooters fairly seriously, and will play through the game on the hardest difficulty setting it offers. When health quickly regenerates and there's no shortage of ammo, there really isn't anything but the immediate threat of a grenade or getting caught in the open that could actually get you killed. In Battlefield 3, the hardest setting offered is simply hard, which honestly isn't that hard, especially with the lazy game design. So, looking for some extra challenge, I decided to knife my way through one of the later missions of the campaign, on hard. And quite honestly, while I did die several times, it wasn't that hard. I sort of thought of myself as one of the target groups of gamers that Battlefield was trying to attract, and the fact that the single-player campaign it doesn't have enough of a challenge to hold my interest is really a letdown. The single player also doesn't offer any chance for the player to practice flying jets or helicopters, which are notoriously difficult to fly in the Battlefield series, especially hearing from people who played Bad Company 2. So the single player offers neither the difficulty challenge or the experience in doing things particular to the Battlefield series that new players really need to bring them up to speed on the series. The game looks great, it may be too easy, but the real flaw is that it's hard to tell when the cutscenes end and when the game starts. The environments can be incredibly immersive, the gameplay, not so much. Finally, the campaign has its fair share of bugs. They usually only require reloading from the last checkpoint. They can really leave you scratching your head, what just happened? And while the checkpoints are close enough together, you usually don't lose much. It's still not something I look for in a game. I will say that Battlefield 3 does game sound right. Really a pleasure to listen to. Battlefield 3 earns 2 out of 5 stars from the best game site ever. While it may come on its own disc, the single-player campaign hardly holds its own. Thank you for watching. Check out thebestgamesiteever.com for more reviews, videos, and features about the latest gaming news.